Welcome to this AQA GCSE Sociology Revision Blast. Today we are focusing on perspectives on families, which is part of paper 1. We're going to start this session with a 60-second challenge. You have 60 seconds to match the key phrases to their definition, matching the letters on the left with the numbers on the right. You might want to have a pen and a piece of paper at the ready. Off we go. There was quite a lot there to try and get done in a minute, so if you need a little bit more time, then just pause the video now. Let's have a look at what the answers are. We have A and 5 going together, so conjugal roles, the roles men and women or same-sex partners in a marriage or other partnership in the home. Now this is linked to the work of Wilmot and Young on the symmetrical family. We have the dual burden, which is B, matching with 8, the situation for women in which they go out to work and still take on the main responsibility for the housekeeping and childcare. So it's a phrase coined by Anne Oakley. C2 is the nuclear family, a family consisting of 2 parents, male and female, and their children. And remember, this is often favoured by traditional functionalists such as Talcott Parsons. We have the privatised nuclear family, so D1. A family structure where the nuclear family is separated from its wider kin and has become more home-centred and inward-looking, so more private. We've got the symmetrical family, which we mentioned a moment ago, so E6, again linked to Wilmot and Young's study, where male and female roles are similar. Both partners contribute in terms of domestic chores and childcare. Our triple shift is F4, the situation where women go out to work and do most of the housework, but they also get emotional work added onto that. We've got the warm bath theory for G7, which is Talcott Parsons' theory that the family helps with the stabilisation of adult personalities through the removal of stress. And H7, unit of consumption, a group such as a family who buy and use goods and services together. So that's a term used by Marxist sociologists. Okay, we're going to move on to a connection wall. So in front of you, you have 16 phrases that can be divided up into 4 groups of 4. And again, these are all to do with perspectives of the family. So rather than asking you to try and work out what these perspectives are, we're going to get you to start with thinking about which ones of those 16 phrases are linked to Murdoch's 4 functions of the family. So he is was a functionalist. He recognised 4 universal functions of the family wherever you were in the world. What are those 4 functions? If you can give yourself a few moments, pause the video, note down which ones you think are relevant to Murdoch's 4 functions of the family. When you're ready, restart and we will reveal the answers. Okay, if you haven't paused the video, please do that now. Let's reveal. We have got the 4 functions here. So we've got sex within marriage, which stabilises couples and therefore society. Education, socialising children into society's norms and values. Reproduction, ensuring new members of society. And economic, providing the resources and financial stability. This time we want you to find the 4 phrases that are linked to Wilmot and Young's 4 stages of family. So they noticed that over time family changed. What were those 4 stages in their study? Again, pause the video, restart when you've noted down which ones you think are linked to Wilmot and Young. Okay, let's reveal. we've got pre-industrial, we then move on to early industrial, we move on to symmetrical, and then we have our asymmetrical family. So well done if you got those correct. So we have 8 boxes left. We would like you to highlight the 4 which are the Rappaport's type of family diversity. Now there are 5 types of family diversity according to them, but we're looking for 4 on the screen now. So pause the video, note down the 4 which are part of the Rappaport's types of family diversity. When you are ready, restart. Let's reveal these. We have cohort, we've got organisational, we've got life course, and we have cultural and ethnic. Okay, we have got 4 boxes left on the screen. What we would like you to do this time is to work out what is the link. So we've got declining moral standards, a lack of male role models, higher rates of crime and deviancy, and dependence on handouts from the state. So what links these 4 remaining boxes? If you need a little bit more time, then pause the video. Have you worked out the link? Let's have a look. It is the new rights argument about the decline of the nuclear family. Remember, they feel the nuclear family is the best family form and often argue that it is the only acceptable family form, and the decline of that in their ideas is responsible for the breakdown in traditional UK society. Right, let's move on. We're going to do a bubble quiz next. So with the bubble quiz, the number of answers on the screen that are correct can range from none of them to all 4. Number 1. What did Talcott Parsons mean with his warm bath theory? So we've got male breadwinner, female homemaker, relaxation from the stress of modern life, needed less due to the benefit system, or married couples provide mutual comfort and support. Which ones of those are relevant to his warm bath theory? Remember, you can have 0 correct, or they could all be correct. Have you noted down the ones that are relevant? Let's have a look. So they are all relevant apart from needed less due to the benefit system. So he argued that the warm bath, the family provided relaxation from the stress of modern life, married couples provided mutual comfort and support, and this was really dependent on a male breadwinner and female homemaker situation. Question 2. How do families serve the interests of capitalism? Workers are less likely to complain about a job if they have a family to support. Family provides emotional support, so it helps workers cope with tedious work. Advertising persuades families that they need to buy stuff, they need to earn money for this. And capitalism focuses on families to sell stuff to. So which ones of those are relevant to that question? How do families serve the interests of capitalism? Just leave that up for a moment. Let's reveal. It is all of them. So Marxists argue that workers are much less likely to complain about a job if they have a family to support, so they're much less likely to risk losing that job by complaining about the conditions they're working in. Workers go home to their family, which they get their emotional support from, so it means if they've had a tedious day at work, they can generally cope with that because they've got that emotional support at home. Capitalism focuses on families to sell stuff to, and they do that through advertising, so persuading families that they need to buy stuff. So in order to buy stuff, you've obviously got to earn money for this, which then feeds into capitalism. Well done if you got those all correct. Number 3. How does a family reinforce patriarchal values? Women are encouraged to be more financially independent, socialising girls into the housewife role, women doing most of the domestic and emotional work, and giving girls toys that reinforce gender roles. Which ones of those reinforce patriarchal values? Okay, we'll just leave that up for a moment. Okay, A, B, C, D. Let's have a look. It is B, C, and D. So socialising girls into the housewife role, and you can argue that's done by giving girls toys that reinforce gender roles. So, for example, dolls to nurture when they're little, and children seeing that the women are doing most of the domestic and emotional work there. Which of the following functions of the family were suggested by Murdoch? Education, economic support, sexual regulation, reproduction. So again, remember, there can be 0 right up to all 4 correct. Let's reveal the answer. So they are all his 4 universal functions of the family. And our last bubble quiz question is, which of these are traditionally associated with a woman's role in the family? Unpaid domestic labour, childcare, discipline, or emotional labour? So which of these 4 are traditionally associated with a women's role in the family? Let's reveal the answer. It is all of them apart from discipline. So traditionally, discipline was seen as something that the fathers would do, although increasingly that's something that more mothers do these days. So unpaid domestic labour, childcare, emotional labour, all traditionally associated with the women's role in the family. Right, we're going to move on to some MCQ. So our first question is, what are gender roles? A, the roles that individuals are expected to fulfil based on what they are biologically suited to. The roles that individuals are expected to fulfil based on their social class identity, that's B. C, the roles that individuals are expected to fulfil based on their socialised gender identity. Or D, the roles that individuals are expected to fulfil based on their gender. So what are gender roles? We'll just leave that on there for a minute so you can read those again. Pause the video if you need a little bit more time. Let's reveal the answer. It is C. So the roles that individuals are expected to fulfil based on their socialised gender identity. So the idea that we're socialising people to behave in a certain way. 2. According to functionalists Wilmot and Young, what term best describes a division of labour in the home? Is it symmetrical, segregated, dual burden, or triple shift? Let's reveal. It is symmetrical. So they argued that after a certain period of time, families became much more symmetrical. So the domestic chores were generally shared between men and women within the home. However, lots of feminists would argue that that isn't actually quite the case, and there still is a dual burden or even a triple shift, and that actually we're not really as symmetrical as Wilmot and Young claimed. Number 3. According to feminist Delphi and Leonard, which is not a feature of gender roles and the division of labour in the home? A. Patriarchal, B. Controlling, C. Oppressive, or D. Functional? Which of those is not a feature of gender roles and the division of labour in the home, according to feminists Delphi and Leonard? Let's reveal the answer. It is functional. So they believe that families are very patriarchal, with men controlling women in an oppressive way, and they believe that women get far less out of the family unit than men. Okay, question 4. According to Anne Oakley, what best describes a division of labour in the home? Is it A, shared conjugal, B, segregated conjugal, C, symmetrical, or D, dual burden? Just leave that on the screen for a few moments. Okay, let's reveal. It is the dual burden. So the idea that women are going out to work, but they are still largely responsible for all the domestic chores, or the majority of the domestic chores at home. Whereas shared roles implies that they are shared equally between the both partners at home. Segregated conjugal means that they are shared, but there are specific roles that the man does and specific roles that the women does. So, for example, women might do the housework, they might do the cooking, whereas men might do things like DIY, they might be responsible for taking the bins out, that sort of thing. Number 5. Which of these is not a factor in how people are socialised into gender roles within the home? A. Role modelling, B. Canalisation, C. Manipulation, D. Genetics. Which one of those is not a factor in how people are socialised into gender roles within the home? Let's reveal. It is genetics. So if we look at the 2 terms B and C there, these are key terms that you should be familiar with. Canalisation is all about giving children toys that socialise them into gender roles. So for girls, it would be things that would encourage nurturing, such as giving them dolls. It might also be things that would encourage them to think about domestic chores. So for example, giving a little girl a toy ironing board or a vacuum cleaner. In terms of manipulation, is how we speak to or how we treat boys and girls differently. Last multiple choice question is number 6. According to Marxist Soretsky, who benefits from gender-specific roles in the home? Is it A, women, B, everyone, C, capitalists, or D, men? So according to Marxist Soretsky, who benefits from gender-specific roles in the home? Let's reveal. It is capitalists. Well done if you got that correct. Right, we're going to move on to a Give Me 3 activity. You have 30 seconds to give me 3 benefits of the nuclear family according to functionalists. Off we go. Okay, did you manage to come up with 3? Let's have a look. So we have primary socialisation, we've got emotional stability, so think about that warm bath theory that we've already talked about, and both male and female role models. Give me 3 issues with the nuclear family according to feminists. Off we go. Okay, hopefully you've managed to come up with 3 again. Let's have a look. So 3 issues with the nuclear family according to feminists. So they reinforce the dual burden. You've got canalisation, giving toys that reinforce gender roles, and men benefit more from the traditional family setup. Let's move on to a round of true or false. You're going to see 5 statements. You just need to have a think about whether these are correct or whether they are not. So our first one is, functionalists are criticised for focusing on traditional family values. Is this true or false? We'll just leave it up for a moment before we reveal the answer. Functionalists are criticised for focusing on traditional family values. Yes or no? Let's reveal. Yes, they are. So they are criticised by feminists and Marxists for focusing too heavily on those traditional family values that many argue are not as relevant for UK society as they used to be. Number 2. Functionalists argue that dysfunction in the family does not exist. Is this true or false? So they argue that dysfunction in the family does not exist. Let's have a look. No, they don't claim it doesn't exist. So they do recognise that there are dysfunctional elements of the family. 3. Marxists suggest that the family serves the needs of the patriarchy. Is this true or false? Let's reveal. It is false. So they focus more on the family serving the needs of capitalism. Obviously, patriarchy is a feminist perspective. 4. Feminists criticise other theorists for ignoring the oppression and the exploitation of women. Is this true or false? Let's have a look. Yeah, so it is. So feminists do criticise other theories such as functionalism and Marxism for ignoring oppression and exploitation of women and focusing heavily on other things. So obviously when functionalism is talking about how positive the family is, it is ignoring the fact that the family unit does oppress women and women do not get as much out of the family as men, or so feminists will argue. Number 5. Functionalists see divorce as being the result of increasing expectations of relationships. Is this true or false? Let's reveal. It is true. So they will argue that divorce has increased for a number of reasons, but one of those being that women particularly are expecting much more from a relationship than perhaps in previous generations. So they put their happiness over lots of other things. So in the past, women would have stayed in a relationship because of financial security, and actually that's not quite so important to women anymore. Being in an emotionally fulfilling relationship is much more important. We're going to move on to our last activity. We've got one more 60-second challenge, and we've got some family types here. Okay, so what we need you to do is to match the letters and the numbers, and you've got 60 seconds to do so. Good luck. Okay, if you haven't quite managed to match them all up, then just pause the video for a few moments and restart when you're ready. Let's reveal the answers. So we have A7 matching together. A family form favoured by functionalists is a traditional nuclear family. B4, the family form particularly criticised by the new right is a single parent family. C1, lots of different types of families is family diversity. D, a couple in a relationship who live separately are living apart together. E6, two the same sex who are married or have a civil partnership are a same-sex couple, also known as a single-sex couple. F5, a couple where at least one of the adults has at least one child from a previous relationship is a reconstituted or a blended family, also known as step families. G8, two adults living together who are not married is cohabitation, increasingly popular because weddings are so expensive. And H2, a family where grown-up children return to live with their parents is a boomerang family. So, for example, that might happen after a marital breakdown. Okay, well done for getting to the end of our revision blast looking at perspectives and families. Hopefully this has increased your confidence through the material that you might see on paper 1 from the perspective of functionalism, feminism and Marxism. Please have a look at the other revision blasts that are available on YouTube. We have them for all topics, so do have a look at the playlist. And the last thing for me today is to wish you the very best of luck in both paper 1 and paper 2.